Good evening, everybody. My name is Peggy Kilburn. I'm the Managing Director for the Hall of Fame Awards, and it is absolutely my pleasure to welcome you here this evening to WITI's 18th Annual Women in Science and Technology Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Woohoo! Most of you know that WITI's Hall of Fame was established in 1996 to honor and promote the outstanding contributions women make to the scientific and technological communities that improve and evolve our society. The 5 women that we're saluting tonight are at the forefront of this evolution. They're sterling examples of women who have made an indelible mark and a very powerful difference in the fields of science and technology. Without a forum like the WITI Hall of Fame, women we need to inspire us and the generations to come would get lost in the annals of history and time. Since 1996, 93 women have entered the WITI Hall of Fame. These women set a high benchmark, and our 2013 inductees add substantially to their outstanding list of achievements. And now, it's my pleasure to introduce our Master of Ceremonies for the evening, Alice Lancaster. Alice is a high-tech marketing professional who began her career in Silicon Valley in the mid-'80s at one of the first Macintosh software startups, Living Videotext. She led the marketing team at PhotoBucket and at Looped, was named one of the Next Women's top 50 high-flying female executives in mobile content, and currently serves as Chief Marketing Officer for Friend to Friend. And she has been a dear friend of mine since we were both young pups, working feverishly on Applefest in another galaxy far, far away. Our host for this evening, Alice Lancaster.
I'm fond of saying Peggy and I worked together back in 1860, and we were just 3 years old. It's an honor to be in this room with such a gathering of such powerful, exceptional women of science and technology. I'm delighted to take part in this celebration of excellence with you. On behalf of WITI and Silicon Valley, I'd like to thank our friends and colleagues and associates who have graciously traveled from all over the world to join us. On behalf of our honorees, past and present, as well as our sponsors and guests and friends, we offer a very special thanks to WITI's founder, Carolyn Layton. And her son, WITI President David Layton, who is, I believe, working feverishly in the back halls here, getting everything working. So thank you, David. And to WITI's Executive Vice President, Michelle Weisblatt. And to all of WITI's dynamic team for enabling us to experience the Hall of Fame Awards and the Women Powering Technology Summit every year. Producing an event of this magnitude is a very daunting task and a tribute to your passion, hard work, and unwavering dedication. We would like to thank everyone in this room tonight, because you wouldn't be here if you didn't understand the significance of these women's contributions to the evolution of our global society and unquestionably to our history. All of you are helping pave the way for the future generations of scientists and technologists by helping make this evening possible. And it's both humbling and inspiring to be in your presence. Members of the WITI Hall of Fame are women who have made outstanding contributions based on one or more of the following criteria. First, having directly made an exceptional contribution to the advancement of science and technology. Second, facilitated and created programs that motivate young women to choose careers in science and technology. Third, enabled and encouraged other scientific and technical women to advance in their careers. And fourth, created scientific or technological innovations which promote environmental harmony, support humanitarian endeavors, or improve the human condition. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we begin the 2013 WITI Hall of Fame inductions. You will find the biographies, the full biographies of all of the award winners on the website. So we will give you a brief introduction here, but more details are on the website. So let's get to our first award winner. Our first honoree is Peggy Johnson. She is Executive Vice President of Qualcomm Technologies and President of Global Market Development, responsible for commercializing new business opportunities and developing strategic relationships. She oversees Qualcomm Labs, an incubator focused on launching new businesses and products, as well as exploring new technology market segments. Under her leadership, Qualcomm developed and commercially launched the Brew platform, which pioneered the world's first large-scale mobile app store, helped developers monetize their applications, and inspired the growth of a global ecosphere that has generated $3 billion in revenue to date. Peggy Johnson began her 23-year career at Qualcomm as a software engineer, and she worked her way up to Vice President of Technology. Now we're going to watch a video to see a little bit more about Peggy's journey.
So at Qualcomm, we've had front row seats and participated in the whole revolution of the cell phone.
Peggy's been very successful at Qualcomm because she's somebody who likes to be out on the leading edge of new technologies and working with partners to get them to understand and adopt these technologies. And she builds great relationships with people.
She's a team builder. She's a person that can arrive on the scene without a lot of structure, and that she can create a team environment across a number of different people.
Peggy is a great listener, and she's customer focused. So, I mean, she deals with all sorts of different kinds of companies with different issues. And what I sense in Peggy, and I've seen it in action, is a real commitment to solving each individual customer's problems, or, opportunities, I guess, be them big or small.
There's a couple of qualities you have to have, I think, to be successful in doing that, and she has them. One of them is you have to be fearless. A lot of people don't go into new things because they're worried about what will happen. The other thing that you have to be able to be very, very good at, and what Peggy's very good at, is working with people outside of the company.
She's somebody who has a lot of empathy, so she can understand what the other person, what the other side in a business transaction really cares about, and then find a way to bridge to get to a resolution where both sides are happy.
There aren't that many women at this level, especially with a technical background. So to me, it is very clear that she obviously made a commitment to an industry and Qualcomm to her many years ago, and has allowed her to be in a position of great influence.
She likes to be out in front. Some of the areas that she's working on most recently are just trying to find new service opportunities. And as we look towards this new vision of the digital sixth sense, the Internet of Everything, the 1000X challenge, these new initiatives that we have, Peggy's been trying to put together businesses around that.
She recognizes that Qualcomm has big influence as it relates to what all of us are trying to do, and I sense that she takes that responsibility really to heart.
She's a person that I know that I can count on when it comes down to getting something done, when it means that we have to go out to a partner and convince them, whether it's to launch a new technology or sign up to a new deal. Peggy's the person that can do it. She's got that mix of customer empathy and relationship building and toughness on the other side. And she's perfectly happy, going into a hard situation and creating something good out of it.
Here to introduce Peggy Johnson is her colleague, Lori Yola, Senior Vice President of Business Development at Qualcomm Technologies. Lori has been helping innovative technology companies grow for over 25 years as an executive, advisor, investor, and board member. Lori has been an integral part of the development and launch of many new innovations and products, both from within large companies like Visa, Sun Microsystems, and Accenture, and as one of a small group of founders and investors of a new entrepreneurial venture with a radical idea like Tesla Motors. So Laurie, if you'd like to step up here.
Hi there. It is such an honor and a privilege to be able to introduce this honor for my dear new boss and friend, Peggy Johnson. And she is here joined by her husband and son, her youngest of 3 children, who's here to honor her as well with dear friends. I first met Peggy just a few years ago when I was at a conference, and a mutual friend of ours who I had enormous respect for came up to me with a very serious look and said, "I have to make a very important introduction to you." And I said, "Wow, Jack, you're being very serious about this. What is it?" And he said, "This is someone I'm so impressed with and care so much about, and I think the two of you will really respect and appreciate one another and enjoy one another." And of course, I got to meet Peggy, and I was shaking because this was such an important introduction. And I got to talk to her, and I said, after first meeting her, I thought, how on earth did I not already know this woman and know about this woman? She's smart, she's technical, she's strategic, and she's so nice. And how did I not know about this woman? But, Peggy is so humble. She has put the task at hand in front of her, and she's always been such an amazing team player at Qualcomm. And as you heard from some of the executives on the video, she's always put the bigger goal first, and she's not put herself first. So that was one of the reasons I'd never heard of you, and many of you may not have heard of her before. As I've been going around the company, I learned that, as a young woman, Peggy took the road less traveled. She studied engineering, and she went around Qualcomm pursuing the toughest problems in the company, breaking down barriers, traveling all over the world. She was in charge of Qualcomm India for many years and was traveling back and forth to India when I was first getting to know her. As you heard, she created the first mobile OS, worked on the first app store, some of the very first handsets. And in the last few months, as I've been going around the company, since, of course, Peggy didn't push her accomplishments forward, I've learned from others about her extraordinary leadership, her energy, her bold plans, her enthusiasm, and always her integrity and her ethics, and heard what a role model she has been for so many women and men in the company over the years. And I kept hearing about her willingness to help others achieve their goals, which was equally important to the team goal and any goal that she had set in mind. The other thing that's so amazing about her is she's just a double treat. She's the person that you want to call when you've got a big strategic problem to solve and want to talk through a tough business challenge, but she's also the person you want to meet for a glass of wine and kick off your shoes, although she wears much higher shoes than I do, so she really needs to kick hers off more often than I do. But she's the person you want to relax and enjoy the moment with, as well as to talk tough business challenges with and have a lot of fun. The other thing I've learned from Peggy is people used to talk about what's the difference between mentoring and sponsorship, and I never really understood what that meant until I met Peggy. And with Peggy, she doesn't mentor people in terms of telling them, you really should improve this. She really sponsors people she believes in, and I've heard story after story about her in the company really sponsoring and pushing people forward, even if it's not popular. If she believes that someone deserves to be sponsored, she will take that bold move and push them forward, and I've certainly been the beneficiary of her amazing support. So I would love to introduce you to my boss, my sponsor, and my dear friend, Peggy Johnson.
Peggy. Right. Not many Peggy's here. There's 2 Peggy's on stage at one time. Thank you very much. I'm very humbled by this. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for 2 ladies who introduced me to engineering. I went to a big high school in LA, and I loved math and science, and not a single person said, "Why don't you go into engineering?" Not a single person. And I went off to San Diego State, and I had a job on campus and happened to be delivering mail to the engineering department one day. And the two ladies there behind the desk thought that I was there to sign up to be an engineer. And I said, no, I'm just delivering the mail. And they said, well, do you want to know about engineering? And they sat me down, and they talked me into it, and I changed my major the next day. So it's just serendipitous that I'm even here. But it was definitely the thing that put me on my way, and it's just been a great career. And we're finally starting to see some breakthroughs. My husband, who's here with me, and my youngest, Jake, he went to Harvey Mudd. And this year, for the very first time, actually the class going in this fall at Harvey Mudd, there's going to be more women than men signed up in the engineering school. So it's huge. The tide is turning a bit. So I also just want to thank my loyal assistant, Steph, who's here, who has been there with me. It's tough to be one of the few women in the STEM fields, but we're making it. We're getting there, and she's been by my side the whole time and was there many times when I was crying on her shoulder. So thank you, Steph. But thank you all very much. You're all such an inspiration to me. And if I could ask you to do the one thing is just ask your daughters to join engineering and to pursue a STEM career, because we need them. We have a huge gap to fill. We don't have enough. And they can close that gap. So thank you. Thank you all very much. Thank you for this.
This is so exciting. Such great stories. Our next honoree is Lisa McVey, Chief Information Officer for McKesson Provider Technologies, with overall IT responsibility for the largest division of McKesson Technology Solutions. Since joining McKesson in 1994, Lisa's focus has been on improving customer experience, directing core and strategic business initiatives, implementing business process changes, establishing collaborative alliances, and developing high-performing, customer-focused teams. Lisa is also an active member of Women in Technology and for professional women, and is focused on the advancement of women in the field of technology, particularly in Georgia. Let's see more about Lisa's journey.
Today, customers are facing tremendous challenges adapting to all the healthcare changes. So everything we do in our projects is focused on either helping employees do their work better, and the products that we develop, making sure that they support the customer's needs.
Lisa's impact on McKesson's investment in technology has been nothing short of phenomenal. We've been reinventing how we do IT at McKesson, especially the IT that we provide to our software development teams. And we've been reinventing the organizations that serve our development teams. Lisa's been at the forefront of that entire effort.
She understands the underlying business problems that information technology can help solve. Another key element about Lisa's way of thinking is that she understands the need to balance long-term strategic initiatives with shorter-term improvement initiatives that realize immediate results.
When I started my career here at McKesson, I lost my husband to cancer. And just recently, about 3 years ago, I lost my mother to Alzheimer's. It has really shaped who I am today. I have learned that change is inevitable, and you need to embrace it and really look at everything in a positive way.
Lisa's approach to implementing technology is pretty unique. She is the first to come in and challenge the old ways of doing things. Then she's also the first to come in and help implement newer, better approaches.
My playbook for leading change is an acronym called BCOM. It stands for balance, coaching, adapt, lead, and measure. The most important of those to me is really balancing, helping people understand that you can really get everything that you want. It just may not be in the time or the way you want it. My mother has been a mentor and a friend to me for years and truly showed me what a woman could be.
I rely on Lisa for guidance in everything. You know, she taught me how to put on makeup and how to deal with breakups in high school, and now she's showing me how to find the right career paths and what roads that I need to take into being successful.
She is not only a wonderful person, deep in her thought, deep in her feelings, but she's an outstanding leader. She has deep background and expertise in the field of software applications, and she's been successful in implementing change across a variety of technology initiatives at McKesson.
This particular award is such an honor to look at the inductees of the Hall of Fame previously and the women that are currently being inducted. Just an amazing group of women, talented in their own right, involved in their communities, and really making a difference. And to be part of that group really is just humbling.
Lisa's a respected leader whom people want to follow.
She's brilliant.
When I think of Lisa, I think of optimistic leadership.
So, introducing is her former McKesson colleague turned IT consulting entrepreneur, Eric McVey, who is not coincidentally, Lisa's husband. Apparently thinks that she's brilliant. Eric himself is a 25-year IT veteran with his career at McKesson, NCR, and Home Depot, and now just created his own technology consulting firm. So, Eric, please come up and tell us all about your brilliant wife.
Thank you for that introduction. The one thing she did not tell you is that I am from North Georgia. Native, born and bred, rural North Georgia. And yes, you folks are looking at me when with the same look that when I normally tell people that. They look at me with the visions of gray-haired, bearded men and camouflage overalls, sitting on the front porch, playing banjos and guitars between sips of moonshine. There is some of that, but the most important thing is they told me I have between 90 seconds and 2 minutes to get these comments out, right? If you're from rural North Georgia, it takes you 90 to 2 minutes to come up with a thought and another 6 to 8 minutes to get it out. But enough about me. What a privilege it is for me personally. I've been to tons of conferences through the years. This, without a doubt, is absolutely one of the best conferences I've ever been to. And I applaud the founder. I applaud Miss Peggy for that. So I think the reason that I'm up here is to talk about, we heard a lot today about work-life balance. So I'm the life part. So I'm going to tell you three things more personal about Lisa that the video didn't cover. Obviously a brilliant technician, strategist in her own right. But here's the impact she has at home. My daughter and I have this discussion lots. Little thing you don't know about Lisa is that if she ever decides to leave IT, she could start a 5-star restaurant. We swear that she can take and make the same dish. Kristen and I can do the same methodology, the same temperature, the same ingredients, and it tastes totally different. Something about that. The second thing you don't know about Lisa is, as brilliant as she is, and yes, she is brilliant, and she didn't pay me to say that, she can get lost in the neighborhood. We had to get a car with a GPS in it for her. No. The other thing I'll tell you, and this is probably the most important thing, an tribute that I can give to Lisa, and more importantly to you ladies in the room, because I've met some very impressive women, young, old, or more mature, excuse me, these couple days. My daughter her mother and I divorced when she was probably 4. She went through her whole elementary school, middle school career, making A's, B's, S's, O's, whatever they make, right? And when Lisa and I started dating, was somewhere around in the middle of her junior year. Lisa and her started having conversations, talking, mentoring. So from her junior year, spring semester, until this last semester, and she's a rising junior in college, she's made 4 O's, straight 4 O's, all the way through. And that's a tribute to that young lady. And what an impact. And what I would tell you is you can have the same impact. And I encourage you and applaud you in those efforts. And I wish you would do that because it makes a difference. As a dad, it makes a difference to when you see your own daughter feel completely confident, completely successful, and ready to take on the world. And you can do that. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce my best friend, my mentor, my wife, and my hero, Lisa McVey.
Welcome to the WITI Hall of Fame.
So yes, I'm the only one that gets to kiss and hug. Thank you, honey. I have to tell you, this is truly an honor and a privilege. I never, ever in my life could have guessed that my career would have taken me where it has. And it's because of women like you that all sit around here that have guided and mentored me. And like Eric said, we have an opportunity to give back and do that for other women. I will tell you that I've had some really good mentors at McKesson. I have to say Mr. Randy Spratt, who's our corporate CIO and CTO, has been an advocate for me for years and has truly been a good coach, a good leader. And I actually reported to him for a couple of years, and it was truly an honor. Robert Hendricks, who was the previous CIO, was the predecessor to my role, and he was truly and always has been an advocate for me. And it was he that asked Randy to consider me for the role that I have today. And then I've had 2 other mentors, as I've mentioned a couple times earlier this morning and on the video, my mother. Just a tremendous mentor and an incredibly strong woman. And then a life coach, somebody who I've been able to reach out to and talk about the good, bad, and the ugly. So I have to say, thank you to the WITI board, to the nominating committee, to just all the volunteers, everybody who's put on this event. And I have to echo Eric's comments. I've been to a lot of conferences, and this has been, bar none, an incredible day. I have learned a lot from women, and I truly meant what I said this morning. I got a therapy mentoring session just this morning. So I will leave you with one story, and this is something that I try to live my life by, so bear with me. But there's 2 friends walking on a beach, and one turns around and slaps the other in the face. And the one that got slapped said, "Why did you slap me?" And they went over into the sand and wrote, "I hate my friend." That same person who got slapped went out into the ocean and started swimming. And they started to drown. The friend that slapped them went out in the ocean and saved them. That person went back and wrote on the stone, "I love my friend." So that story to me signifies so many things. What happens when you write things in the sand? Over time, the wind blows, and there's no trace of that. What you write in stone stays. So everything that I've tried to do, both in my personal and my professional, is to remember that take those risks, take those challenges, because those things that get blown away in the sand, that's okay. It's those things that you write in stone that are important. And make sure you choose those things carefully. So again, thank you for everything, and I'm especially honored.
So emotional. It's wonderful. Before we introduce our next honoree, this is the PBS pledge moment. I'd like to take a moment to mention that tonight's 18th Annual Hall of Fame Awards Dinner is a fundraising event for the Women in Technology International Foundation, a nonprofit corporation. The WITI Foundation donates all after-tax profits to programs that encourage young women to choose careers in science and technology. And you see, WITI is not only about celebrating innovators, but is also actively committed to paving the way for future leaders. So we encourage you to support the organizations and other organizations like WITI because it's essential to our global future. So thank you, you make it possible. Our next inductee is Dr. Marian Croak, Senior Vice President of Applications and Services Infrastructure at AT&T Labs. Named to that role in 2012, she is responsible for a team of over 2,000 developers, engineers, and program managers who manage over 500 programs impacting AT&T's enterprise, consumer, and mobility services, and create the tools used by developers inside and outside AT&T to build new apps and services. Her team is tightly integrated with the AT&T Foundry Innovation Centers. A mentor for numerous staff members, Dr. Croak is also an executive sponsor for organizations supporting Asian, African American, and Hispanic employees. She joined AT&T in 1982 at Bell Labs and has received over 100 patents in VoIP technology, with an additional 100 plus under review by the US Patent Office. It's just awe-inspiring. So here to say a few words about her colleague is Jan Collier, Vice President of Global Human Resources for AT&T. Jan leads the team that AT&T's college recruiting program, employee marketing, and international human resource operations support. So Jan, if you'd like to come up. It's a long walk. Yes. Thank you, Jan.
Well, I'm not sure I can top that last introduction. And we are going to move from Georgia to the Arkansas, Texas accent. So just working our way west. First of all, I have the pleasure of introducing one of the most amazing people at AT&T. Marian Croak is an inspiration to everyone who knows her at AT&T, and she has a huge list of accomplishments, which we heard some of them just now. But I want to brag on her because she is such a humble person, and she would never do it herself. So she joined Bell Labs in 1982, and Marian came armed with the knowledge and education that she gained at Princeton University and the University of Southern California, and a PhD in social psychology and quantitative analysis to prove it. That's the sort of training that prepares you to change the world, and that's exactly what she's done. Not only does she hold more than 120 patents and many more that she's working on, but she also played a key role in pushing AT&T to adopt the internet as the centerpiece of its next generation network. While that sounds like a no-brainer today, it was quite a gamble back in the 1980s and 1990s. And Marian staked her career on that bet, and it's paid off, and we've all benefited because of it. She continues to push AT&T today through her involvement with our AT&T foundries, who work collaboratively to bring cutting-edge applications and service to market quickly. Outside of work, Marian has 3 adult children, and she's also a long-distance runner. She's a visionary, a tireless leader, and an inspiration to all who know her. She serves on the board of the Holocaust and Human Rights Educational Center in New Jersey, and she is very active in STEM organizations to encourage young women and girls to enter the technology and science field. I'm thrilled that she's getting this honor tonight, and now that I've completely embarrassed her, I'm sure, please join me in welcoming and congratulating Marian Croak.
I'm Marian Croak, and I'm a Senior Vice President in AT&T Labs. I have 125 patents, and it's been over 30 years since I've been here.
Marian brings a lot of quality to her work, especially in her great judgment in giving people enough freedom to work independently, but watching them for clear directions.
During my career in AT&T, I worked on data services when most of the company was working on voice services. And I felt like IP and the internet was going to explode and that we needed to move towards the internet in order to be competitive. The whole company has moved in that direction now. We've been able to transform a network into an entirely different technology. I think when I was growing up, the person that I admired the most was my father. He was a very smart person, but he didn't have a very deep formal education, but he was always very encouraging of me exploring and having a lot of curiosity. I also participate in an organization that's dedicated to helping minority high school students who are interested in math and science. For young women and young people in general who are entering this field, I would hope that they wouldn't be intimidated. I'm a very quiet person. I have a very soft voice. I like to think. I'm not that much of a talker, but I found a lot of acceptance. I found that my voice would be heard by people.
In a meeting, she's not going to be the one that does most of the talking, but when she talks, she really is giving you a thought out ideas and very clear direction.
I think the best thing is the amount of diversity within the labs, and there are people from all over the world who have very different perspectives, and yet we all work together, and that has been one of the, the blessings of just being here for me. I want to thank you all for being here and congratulating me so much. I feel like there should be hundreds of people standing here to receive this reward because I've been very fortunate to work with just tremendous teams within AT&T who have inspired me, supported me. Their creativity and their innovation just leads to me receiving this award, and I want to share it with all of them. And you haven't watched the film, but I talk about how my father really was the person who inspired me to excel in science and math and to try to just do my best in what I've done. And what I haven't told most people is my father is probably he's passed away now, but he was one of the most intelligent people that I've ever had a relationship with, but he only graduated from the 8th grade. He too came from Georgia, and he had one of those very hard luck stories where, he walked 10 miles to school back and forth, and his father died when he was 8, and his mother died when he was 10, and he had to support his brothers and sisters. But he ended up in New York and married my mom and raised 3 daughters, and he just always, emphasized the importance of education and the freedom that it would give you to be creative and do what you wanted. And I, fortunately, for that one moment, I did listen to him. So he's gone, but I'm sure his spirit is in this room, so I want to thank him.
So thank you, Dr. Croak, for sharing that story with us. Our next honoree is Laura Saunders, the General Manager of Delivery Engineering and Technology and Chief Technology Officer for Global Technology Services at IBM, responsible for developing, executing, and implementing the global technology strategy and architecture. Previously, she was Vice President of Strategy and Development for IBM's Tivoli Software, including IBM's portfolio for integrated service management and cloud. Laura started her IBM career as an engineer in Boca Raton during the development and launch of the PS2. So let's take a look at Laura's video.
It's such a great honor to be recognized by an organization that is so focused on the advancement of technical women and joining over 90 women already recognized, and it feels terrific.
I'd like to offer my congratulations to Laura Saunders for her induction in the Women in Technology International Hall of Fame. As a member of my leadership team, she has done a remarkable job working on the technical strategy and creating many opportunities for top technical talent in IBM. A very well-deserved honor indeed. Congratulations, Laura.
I'd like to congratulate Laura on this amazing accomplishment of getting inducted into the WITI Hall of Fame. It's a very well-deserved recognition for her. She's been a woman that I've admired my whole career. She and I started at IBM on the same day, and so I've known her for a very long time and seen the impact that she's had both in technology inside of IBM and for our clients, as well as outreach to the community. So it's really exciting to see this for her. Congratulations, Laura.
Laura, congratulations on being inducted into the Women in Technology Hall of Fame. Very well-deserved recognition. I've had the privilege of working with Laura for a couple of years now, and I've seen the enormous contribution she's made to our business and the boundless energy that she exhibits.
I started out as a risk. I took a job as an electrical engineer, even though I was a mechanical engineer, and I called my brother the night before the interview to help me with the questions, and I got hired, and I worked on the PS2 and put out that first product for IBM.
You know, Laura has an incredible mix of talent, very deep technical and technology know-how, a very broad business acumen, collaborative approach to teaming, and she's clearly been a role model for all. Many congratulations on this honor, Laura, and all of the best for you and your future success.
Well, I think IBM overall is an excellent place to work. And for women in general, you know, having hired the first woman in 1899 and passed the Equal Pay Act inside IBM, you know, 28 years before the government did it, I think IBM really gets it. And I know for me and for the technical women I work with, there's an investment. You are invested in your career, you move around.
Congratulations, Laura, and thanks for being a role model for us. You have helped women in IBM realize that there is a wide range of opportunities for us to progress our careers within IBM in the technical field.
There's so many people to thank, and I really ask everybody to think about it this way. You help people every day, and people help you every day. For me, I've had so many wonderful managers and mentors, and I still do today. And I'd really like to thank my parents who really said, doesn't matter whether you're male or female, we're going to push you the same way, and we're going to afford you these opportunities.
Here to introduce Laura is fellow IBM colleague Sandy Carter, Vice President of Social Business Evangelism and Sales at IBM. Sandy, a 2010 inductee herself in the WITI Hall of Fame, is one of the top women pioneers in social media who will serve as a role model for future generations of women and girls to use social media to advance their status. Sandy also founded the IBM Super Women's Group, a network mentoring group for IBM for Women in Technology, and she is a recognized leader in social business, a best-selling author, and one of the most influential women in Web 2.0 technology. So, Sandy.
Okay. Well, I'm from Texas, but I live in New York, so I'm not quite sure what kind of accent you're going to hear tonight from me. Could be a blend. We'll have to see. I'm thrilled to be here, and I want to echo what everyone has said. What a great conference, Carolyn, and what a great thing that you did to start this. So great, 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 great. Thanks, everyone. Thank you. Well, it's my pleasure tonight to bring up Laura Sanders, who is a general manager at IBM. I have to tell you, that is an amazing, amazing thing. We don't have that many women yet. Laura has really broken through that glass ceiling at IBM to make that general manager role. I've worked with her, I was thinking about it the other day. I'm just gonna say over a decade, so you guys won't be able to figure out my age. And we started out in Austin, Texas. And you know, some of the first thing in Austin, Texas, hook 'em horns. Anybody hook? Oh, there you go. And one of the things I remembered about Laura was not only that she was an engineer, but she used to drive this little hot sports car. And you know, that reminds me actually of a joke. Texans like jokes. So there were 3 engineers in a sports car: a mechanical engineer, electrical engineer, and a computer or software engineer. And the car broke down. Definitely not Laura's car. And of course, the mechanical engineer said, oh, must be the piston, we have to redo the whole engine. Electrical engineer said, it's got to be the wiring. The computer science engineer got out and said, perhaps if we all get out of the car and then get back in, it'll start working. Mechanical engineers are still trying to get the joke. So why do I say that? Well, you heard a little bit about Laura on the film. So she studied to be a mechanical engineer, started as an electrical engineer. One of the first places I met her, she was actually a software engineer, where I think she did think that rebooting was much easier than, changing the engine or the wiring. Now, Laura is an absolute hoot to work with. We had a great time down in Austin, Texas. And in fact, this morning, she told you about her love of comics. So what I thought I would do is to highlight a couple things about Laura using some comics, okay? So Laura, get ready. Laura is like the Roadrunner. Beep, beep. You guys know the Roadrunner? She is speedy. She acts with decisiveness. She gets things done. She now has responsibility for a data center area inside of IBM, which is a place that you have to have speedy service. And she's always moved very fast, making those great decisions. She also introduced one of the first storage products when we worked together down in Tivoli as part of IBM. She's also like Scooby-Dooby-Doo, and I didn't know she was going to use some of that this morning. But Scooby-Dooby-Doo, if you remember, he was a detective. Right? He figured things out. And IBM has an initiative at IBM called Smarter Planet or Smarter Buildings. She helped to figure out how to automate the temperature, automate the controls, really make sure that we as IBM were helping clients in that smarter business area. She's also Wonder Woman. Now, why Wonder Woman? Well, she helped with IBM. She started some of the Excite camps, which is where we go out and we teach young girls about technology and why technology is so cool. She's mentored, I don't know how many women at Tivoli in her current job and services. Women really look up to her. She's a big sister. She's done some, I think, incredible things mentoring women, which I think is very important to always, pull someone else forward. And then finally, I know it's not really a cartoon, but she's like the Energizer Bunny. Never stops going. And I think this is just part of her journey, and I look forward to many, many, many great things from Laura. So it's my pleasure, and I'd love my IBM team to stand up as we bring up Laura Sanders to the stage. Woo!
She's going that way. She always goes her own way. You know? So, thank y'all. It's really a pleasure to be here. Well, the opposite of Sandy, I'm from New York and now live in Austin, and I don't know where I'm from. But it is a great honor to be with a group of people that took the time to reach out and learn from each other, and it was a great fun today. So there are many challenges of being a woman in technology. Many of us talked about those today, and there'll be more tomorrow. But there's also a lot of upside. I mean, except for WITI, there's no line at the ladies' room. So, you know, and the other upside I really see is on the phone, it's so often that you're the only woman on the phone or in the meeting that you start to not introduce yourself by anything but your first name. And I'm so spoiled, I just say, hey, I'm Laura. And one of the guys at work the other day said, what do you like, Cher? You don't need a last name? And so for the young people, that would be like Rihanna or somebody like that. So not like Cher. But, you know, it also brings a great responsibility, and we heard a lot today, and we've heard many, many times that it's very hard to do this, and there's just not enough women doing it. And like Sandy, I have the opportunity to travel all over the world or talk to them in the middle of the night, and I see so much of the same, regardless of where you are in the world. There's all these great women and so much talent, and we really have to work on more of them and improving their impact. So unlike everybody else who was really nice and just said thank you, I'm going to give you homework. So with that great responsibility, you all have that great responsibility because you're here in this room. And you didn't get here by accident. You didn't just show up and, you know, suddenly become a woman in technology, right? So the first one is be inclusive. It's not a contest. Help people. Like Carolyn says, no one stands alone. Don't assume they're going to reach out to you. Reach out to them. Think of all the people that have helped you. And every one of us has said so far, everybody helped us. Help people. The second thing is be great. There's no better role model, there's no better thing to be than a fantastic woman in technology. It will make other women want to do it. It will give you the opportunity to hire other women, and it will, you know, be good for you too, but it's a very good thing to be that role model. And a little story from college, since we've been talking about ladies' rooms, is where I went to college, there's actually no ladies' room in the engineering building, so there was never a line. But we couldn't get one of the professors to answer the questions from the girls. And so we convinced the guys, obviously, to ask the questions. And after a while, the professor realized that the girls were getting A's. And he went, I guess I probably should answer their questions because I really thought they were going to drop out in 2 weeks, but they're still here. And so, you know, that being, you know, showing yourself, showing you could do it, I think was really important. Okay, so we have be great, be inclusive, speak. You heard that over and over again today. Speak. Mind reading is not a course in college, maybe at Hogwarts, something like that, but definitely not in most universities. I'm pretty sure it's not at Harvard Mudd now or whatever, so please speak. And then finally, we talked a lot today about work-life balance, you know, and I really say the fourth thing is be real. To me, there is no work-life balance. The balance is what you decide it's going to be and what's important to you. And it's been such a nice thing to hear about people and their families, and Lisa's husband introducing her. And be real. Do what's important to you. And if you see folks getting out of balance, help them get back in balance, because there's a lot to balance. So with that, I'd say thank you very much, and thanks to Sandy for the great introduction, and y'all have a great rest of the night. We got one more fantastic inductee. Which way do I go? That way.
So we are now at our grand finale honoree tonight is Heidi Roizen, who has spent her life immersed in Silicon Valley ecosystem as an entrepreneur, a corporate executive, venture capitalist, educator, and member of the boards of directors of private and public companies, trade associations, and nonprofit institutions. In 1983, Heidi co-founded TeamMaker Company, an early personal software firm, and that's where I first encountered Heidi, and I've admired her ever since when I was also in the Valley then. In 1996, she joined Apple as Vice President of Worldwide Developer Relations, and from there she entered the venture capital world as Managing Director for Mobius Venture Capital, and currently as a venture partner at the leading global venture firm Draper, Fisher, Jurvetson. She currently teaches the course Spirit of Entrepreneurship at Stanford University. And I'm particularly delighted to introduce her video as Heidi chose her oldest child to create this wonderful personal story.
I'm actually the only American-born citizen in my family. My parents were European immigrants, and they came to Silicon Valley in the 50s. My dad was actually quite entrepreneurial, and he started a lot of companies. They weren't all successful, but he was always very driven and passionate about what he was doing and really enjoyed his work, and instilled in all us kids the idea that if you were going to go off and earn money, you could do it by creating something on your own. My first startup was actually a puppet show. Silicon Valley was a great place to be in 1980. I graduated from Stanford and I got a job at Tandem Computers. They hired me to be the editor of the company newspaper. I spec'd the type, I did the photography, and it was really a great learning experience. I really enjoyed the job, at least in the early parts. It made me come to realize that I didn't want to spend the rest of my life writing about what other people were doing. I really wanted to be in the driver's seat doing the stuff myself. An MBA looked like a really interesting thing to do, so I applied to Stanford and luckily got in and went back to Stanford for my MBA. I was also extremely fortunate in that I have a brilliant programmer brother who, while he's brilliant at programming, really didn't want to run a company. So he and I, during my second year of business school, decided we would start this company, TeamMaker. I would be the CEO, he would be the CTO. In a way, I was really lucky. We went out to raise venture capital and nobody was going to invest in a 25-year-old creative writing major girl and her programmer brother. And so we didn't raise any money. And in a way, that was probably the best thing that happened to me, because since we didn't raise any money, there was nobody to fire me. Nowadays, I spend a fair amount of my time mentoring, spending time with entrepreneurs, with students at Stanford, at Draper University, at other universities, trying to help them start and build companies. Everybody seems to want to meet over lunch or Starbucks. So I decided to combine two things, and almost all of my mentoring that's not done in the classroom is done on walks. I figure that even if we don't get anything out of the meeting, at least we get some exercise. I'm currently logging over 1,000 miles a year in mentoring meetings. With every career, and certainly with mine, there have been a lot of really bad things that happen. I've been fired, I've gotten divorced, I've made investments that have lost a lot of money, and I can sum up my learning that happiness is about meaningful work and meaningful relationships. I feel really blessed that the work I do with entrepreneurs and with students today allows me to have meaningful work and build meaningful relationships in a way that also lets me be who I am. I can be authentic and not have to worry about trying to fit into a role that is someone else. It's really a blessing to just be able to be me and be able to help other people build these great companies.
Clearly, I'm a woman who needs a lot of airtime. I think the fact that Heidi had her oldest kid put the video together just talks about Heidi and her amazing integration of every part of her life. It is such an honor and pleasure to introduce Heidi. I followed her career from my earliest days and was reintroduced officially to Heidi in her home about 10 years ago from a dear mutual friend. And many of my meetings with Heidi were in her home, which was so refreshing and interesting because I got to know her dog, who you saw in the video. He was often in many of our meetings, and her children, and her house was always this bustling place where very fun things were going on. But I don't want to leave you with the impression that Heidi is a person who hangs out with her dog and children and doesn't do meaningful, amazing work, because over the years, I have brought Heidi my very hardest problems in boards that I've been on and companies that I've been involved in. When I had a problem that seemed insurmountable and I was panicking about how to solve it and at a complete loss for strategy, Heidi would be the first person I would call, because I have not met a more amazing strategic thinker who looks at all facets of a problem and comes up with amazing innovative solutions. She's been a pioneer. She was one of the first female venture capitalists, so she was one of the role models that I had in terms of going into investment, but as well took board governance and how to grow a company in an ethical and meaningful way so seriously into all of her life. She's been such an inspiration, and her style was so different from other investors and venture capitalists in her amazing warmth and compassion that you immediately get from Heidi when you meet her. She has been so generous with her time. When I barely knew her, I would call her with this huge problem, and she'd say, "Sure, come on over to my house, for breakfast, and I'll make you an espresso, and we'll solve the world's problems." And it was, so wonderful and amazing to know that I could go have a cup of coffee in my sweats and deal with a problem with Heidi. And I have been at her home many, 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 many times over the years. She talked earlier today about always reinventing herself, and she was such an inspiration. When something in her life or in anyone's life wasn't going well, she would just say, "Okay, new challenge, let's take it on, let's go forward, and we'll move forward, and it'll be better at the next stop." And that was always very inspirational. She was, again, always generous with her time and always pushing others forward. The other second thing you need to know about Heidi is, I think she may have invented, certainly, if not the first, the best girls' night at her home. And this wasn't just a girls' night where you sat around and talked with girls. This was an executive women's night where she would fill up her home with the most amazing set of women that you would ever want to meet, like the folks in this room. And yet, so there would be an amazing business networking, but there would also be a theme of fun. And so it was a place where you could relax, enjoy, and most importantly, she taught me how to make a very mean Cosmo, because she was always there making Cosmos in her bar. And I learned my Cosmo making from Heidi, which became very important. And she also taught me about having the posse of wonderful women around you, and many of my posse are sitting at this table in Heidi's posse, because it's very important to have your posse that support you, drink Cosmos with you, and solve problems. The other thing, for someone who used to throw herself solely into work at the exclusion of everything else, I don't know if it's balance, but Heidi's video talked about the twofer, when you're being able to do two things at once, but she actually taught me the threefer, where you can lead a really integrated life. You can host business meetings at your home, go for walks, meet new friends while solving problems. So any meeting I have today, I'm thinking, is it a twofer, a threefer, or can we push for a fourfer? Because we need to think about all the things we can actually accomplish in the same period of time. And we laugh and take it lightheartedly, but I have really consumed this, because if I can get three things done at once, where I can actually be burning calories while meeting someone new, while creating a business relationship, all in sweats without having to put on a suit, it's a good day. The other most important thing, just so you know, Heidi's voice is in my head every morning when I first wake up, because at one point in my career, I stopped exercising and was gaining a lot of weight, and I was doing very well in my work, but I was not doing well in my health. And so Heidi once told me, "Lori, you need to look at exercise like brushing your teeth. You get up and you do it every morning, whether you want to or not." And so every morning when I'm laying in bed wanting to push the snooze button, I hear Heidi saying, "Lori, it's like brushing your teeth. You get up and do it whether you want to or not." So that was a very important thing, which I hope you all hear Heidi's voice in your head from now on. So without keeping you here too late, I want to introduce you to my inspiration, role model, coach, teacher, and dear friend, the amazing Heidi Roizen.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm the last thing of a really long day, so congratulations to everybody for making it through this. And thanks to Peggy. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for Peggy. And thank you to Lori, who actually had to pinch hit at the last moment and make all that up, because I was supposed to be introduced by somebody else, but I think she did a better job than, well, we'll just say she did a better job than I ever could have hoped for, and she's a dear, wonderful friend and a person with whom I've shared many long walks, and we've solved many of the world's problems, except sometimes after we have those cosmos, we don't remember the next morning what the solution was, and we have to start all over again, so oops. I also want to say one of the most important things I've learned tonight, as you see in the video, I'm recently divorced. I am going hunting in Georgia. I mean, seriously. Do you have like a brother or anyway? So I am also, the word humbled comes up a lot, and I am humbled to be here, and it was so wonderful to meet the other honorees today. And one of the things that I really feel like a little bit of a fake up here, because everybody else runs big things, and I don't run a big thing. I've sort of never run a big thing. I was a VP at Apple for a year. I don't think that really counts, and so. I guess what I want to say to everybody in the room is, let me just for a moment be an advocate of the small. I have in my home office this freakishly clean desk. I'm sort of, I don't know, weird about that, and I have this freakishly clean desk because of course my mess is all digital, right? It's not on my desk, it's in the computer. But anyway, on my desk there is really only one thing, and it is a glass starfish. And it's because I love this parable about the small child walking down the beach, picking up starfish and throwing them in the ocean. And somebody walks up and says, little child, you're silly. There are so many starfish on the beach, you can't save them all. And the child picks up the starfish and throws them in the ocean and says, well, it mattered to that starfish that I did it. And I keep a starfish on my desk because a lot of my life is about starfish. I'm frankly a little intimidated by people who do big things, who found big charities and who run departments with 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 people reporting them. I can't do that. That scares the crap out of me. But what I can do is I can pick up a starfish every day, or maybe 2, or maybe even 3. And because I'm in Silicon Valley, and because I teach at Stanford, and because I put myself out there, I get the opportunity to do that every day. And the interesting thing about it is it ends up giving so much more back to me. And I know that sounds like one of those things, you go, oh, it gives so much back to me, but it really does. I find at the end of the week, if I think about what was the most interesting thing I heard all week, or who was the most interesting person I met, or whatever, it is very often the meeting I took because someone thought I was doing them the favor. And like I said, I do it during walks. So not only do I log about 1,000 miles a year, but my dog is really super smart about everything going on in the valley because she comes with me. And if she could talk, she'd have one hell of a pitch. But anyway, I would just, so as my, similarly, I just would give you a homework assignment, which is every one of you is capable of picking up a starfish tomorrow. So whether that's your neighbor's kid, or whether that's somebody who you work with, or whether that's just something small. It really doesn't take very much. I believe that it doesn't take very much, and one of the gratifying things that's happened to me in my career is sometimes those little starfish, in fact, it's been rather funny. I've been in a few meetings like with super important people that I'm like groveling to go get a meeting with them, and they'll say, you once answered my email, or you once took a meeting with me, or you spoke in my graduate class, and I'm always like, oh my God, could you just give me some of your shares? I wish I would have asked for some of those. No, seriously, it doesn't take much. And I really believe if you're intimidated by the big, do the small. Because if we all just do a little small, it turns into something really super big. So thank you to WITI. This is such an honor. I'm so thrilled to be up here, and I turn it back to you. I'm taking this back.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our program for the evening, and it's been an extraordinary night. I've learned a lot myself about mentoring, and as a mother of 2 teenage daughters, I'm humbled by the job that I have, and I need all the help I can get. So we're going to ask all the award winners to come back on stage for a photo moment, and we can give them another round of applause. And before we do that, please come next year. The dates are to be finalized, but I believe they are June 2nd through June 4th next year, and I look forward to seeing you all then. So let's give another round of applause to the award winners and have them come up for photos.